So you probably came here today thinking that you were going to learn about artist trust. But actually, we're here to talk about you, the artist. So I want to know from you, first of all, can you raise some hands? How many of you are visual artists? Oh, it's everyone. Okay, how many of you are performing artists? A couple. How about literary artists? And media artists? Okay, we got a few of everyone in the room today. So our goal here today, which is very quick, is short and simple. We want you to walk away feeling very supported by Artist Trust and to feel like you know where to go to get the resources that you need. Let's start by talking about your goals as an artist. I want you to just take a quick minute, because oftentimes this isn't at the top of your head. Just take a minute and think about what your top 3 goals are as an artist. If you want to close your eyes, sometimes that helps people imagine. If that helps you. Who would like to raise their hand and share some of their top goals as artists? Anyone? Natalie?
I would like to work with and inspire other artists.
So she said work with and inspire other artists. That's a great one. Oh yeah.
Sustainability.
Sustainability. So ongoing, being an artist for a long period of time. Yes, that's a huge one for artists. What else? Other goals?
Create a mural in a foreign country.
Oh, I love how specific that is. Specific goals are usually more likely to happen. So create a mural in a foreign country. What else?
Submission done for the Betsy Bowen.
Submission for the Betsy
Bowen show.
Okay, the Betsy Bowen show. That's also very specific as well. Anyone else like to share another goal? Okay, those are really great goals. I like how some of them are very lofty and some of them are very immediate and specific. So our goal for you, our goal as Artist Trust is that we can help you achieve those goals. So I'm here today to tell you about all the different ways that you can do that. So I want to start today by talking about 2 very interesting people. A lot of you mentioned things that might require money to achieve, and one thing that we do at Artist Trust is we give artists a lot of money so that you can achieve those goals. So this person on the left here is June Sakaguchi. June is a visual artist who lives in Issaquah, and she received our GAP in 2007, which is our Grant for Artists project. After receiving that grant, she went on to win a couple other huge awards, and then she also received a couple residencies in really faraway places like Laos. She felt that a lot of that stemmed from this elevation of her career that happens oftentimes when you win a grant. And then just this year, within the last month, she was notified that she received our fellowship, which is sort of the next level up of our grants. And so this is a very common way that people will receive our grants, where they start out kind of the GAP, which is kind of like a starter grant, and then they move forward as their career advances. They become, they kind of advance through and then get to that level of fellowship. And then this is Derek on the right. Derek is a poet who lives in Leavenworth, and he's a really interesting person because he is, I think, a perfect example of the resilience required to be an artist, which is the kind of artist that we like to support. He applied for our GAP 4 times and was rejected 4 times. And then the 5th time he applied, he received that grant for Artist Project. And after he received that grant, he was able to publish a 2nd chapbook. And from publishing that chapbook, it led to a lot more, he opened up a lot more doors because of that. And after publishing that chapbook, he then decided that he would go for our next grant, the fellowship. And he applied for the fellowship 2 times and was rejected 2 times. And then on the 3rd time, he received that fellowship. After he received that fellowship, he was able to publish a full-length book, which for the discipline of poets, this is like a very key thing that you need in order to share your work with other people. So basically, because he won these awards, his whole career took off because he was able to get things done he never would have if he hadn't received these awards. So these are really good examples of what the Artist Trust grants can do for you. I want to give you a minute to take a little psychological vacation here. I want you to imagine what you would do with $7,500. $7,500 is the amount of our fellowship. So I want you to take a minute, close your eyes again if you want to, really imagine if you won a $7,500 award from Artist Trust, what would you do with that money? Just take a minute to think about that. Really envision what would it be like? Okay, who would like to share what they would do with $7,500?
Upgrade my photography equipment for my studio.
Upgrade photography equipment, great. What else?
Record a record, go on tour.
Record a record and go on tour. He's gonna make that money go far. Bridget, what else? Karen.
I'm obsessed with little tiny homes, and I would want to be fantastic as a studio.
Oh, like the micro home
the
thing?
micro homes, yeah.
And turn it
Yeah.
into a studio.
Yeah, or I was thinking, well, I started thinking that, and I thought, well, maybe I should be more community-minded, and I have this lingering idea that I would really love to have an art fair in Vancouver, which also that would be.
That's great. I'd love to hear from 1 more percent. Kevin.
I'd love to be able to get a space where I can create an exhibit that was interactive, same scale that you have right behind you with the community and then have a public and the audience and so on to get a multi-sensory experience.
So when I have my art fair,
Look, these collaborations are already happening. This is perfect. I love this. So those are all the things you just mentioned are things that we oftentimes see in applications for our grants, whether it's new supplies, space to be making the work, performance venues, travel for research. These are all the types of things that are funding, that artists are applying for in our funding programs. And these are the types of things that as an organization we want to be funding. A couple other details about our grant program. One thing is that we're a very unique organization and we exist specifically and only for individual artists. And so all of our grants are for individuals. So not for organizations, just for you, the artists, which is really great. And we're for all disciplines. So that means musicians, writers, media artists, everyone. We give grants to everyone, and we're for the entire state of Washington as well. So this is, again, we're a very unique organization. Very few organizations like us exist in the state. I want to get into a few specifics here. You can see there's a lot of detail on here. You're going to hear me saying this a lot throughout this presentation, but all of this information is on our website and on the handout that you have. But I want to just give you this quick breakdown of the differences between our grants. I want to walk you through the slide really quickly to point out a couple of things that I think are really important in differentiating between the different types of grants that we offer. So starting at the top here with the GAP, Grants for Artists Project, you'll notice that it's the smallest amount, it's $1,500. And as I mentioned when I was talking about June and Derek, this is what we think of as our starter grant. So oftentimes artists who've never won a grant from anyone before will get the GAP. But it's not only for emerging artists, it's for people at any stage of their career. But because it's a small amount and it's a very simple application process, it's one that oftentimes artists will get for the very first time. Another thing I want to point out here, you'll notice, is we have residencies for GAP and for fellowship. The residency is an opportunity for you to have time away from your regular daily life to devote specifically to making art. And there's a little checkbox that you can click when you're applying for grants to say whether or not you want to be considered for those residency programs as well. So look for those. And then another thing is our grants are open. Anyone can apply for our grants, but the Twining Humber and the James W. Ray grants here, that's through a nomination process. So you have to be nominated in order to qualify for those grants. And then two final things. You'll see here, fellowship, it says disciplines rotate every other year. So what that means is half the disciplines apply 1 year, and then the other half apply the other year, so it rotates. So again, just check our website to make sure you're aware, so you're not gearing up to apply only to realize that your discipline isn't eligible for this year. And then finally, another thing that you'll hear me say several times is that you don't have to be an Artist Trust member to apply for our grants or to access most of our services. So just, again, it's open to anyone. This is for everyone in the community. So a quick show of hands. How many people in the room have received a grant from Artist Trust? All right. How many people in the room know someone who's received a grant from Artist Trust? It's like everyone knows somebody at least. Those of you who won a grant, would you like to share with us what you did with that money?
I won a GAP grant very early on in my artistic career and development, and it really was a launchpad. It was great. With the money itself, that went specifically just to my studio rent and supplies at the time. But I think what was really the most advantageous for me back thought it was kind of that feather in the cap, that top line on a resume, and it opened a lot of doors, absolutely.
I got a gap in 1998 to go to Ireland to photograph a parade because I'd been photographing the solstice parade here and I wanted to go farther out, so that was money towards my flight and got to go over there. It was gonna be super fun.
That's great. I mean, those are really, I feel like, very diverse examples of how people would apply for our grants. And I'm sure those of you who know others who've applied, that they can tell you different ways that the money can be used. So those are really great. One other thing I'd like to mention is when we're thinking about grants is that a lot of people are intimidated by the process. Sometimes they think, oh, grants are for someone else, they're not for me, I don't know how to do that. But I want to talk to you for a minute about different ways that Artist Trust can support you in that process as well. So another side of our organization is our services that we offer to help build your career, including applying for grants, not only for Artist Trust grants, but for grants at any organization. So I want to tell you about Melissa St. Cole. Melissa is an artist who lives in Spokane. And she's an interesting person because she started her career as a zoologist. And then about 15 years ago, she decided to make a career switch and become an artist. And like a lot of artists, she kind of started out small. She was showing in cafes, she was making greeting cards, and then she decided she really wanted to move her career up to the next level. So she was very smart and decided to sign up for an Artist Trust workshop. Our 2-day-long workshop is called I Am an Artist, which I'll tell you a little bit about later. She took, and she was really helping to, specifically the things she wanted to get out of that were skills that she could use to really work on getting her work accepted into public art commissions, so specifically things like resume, website, artist statement, things like that. So she took this workshop, and then almost immediately she started noticing that she was getting accepted to way more public art commissions. So that was very exciting for her to realize that with just a weekend's worth of investment for a very small amount of money, she was able to see her career take off. Then a few years later, she took our EDGE program, which is an 8-day-long program. Again, I'll tell you more about that in a minute. After she took that program, she started to really kind of own the whole feeling of being an artist. She felt like she was able to be much more professional, and she understood the full expanse of things you need to know as an artist. So everything from like the resume piece that we already talked about, but all the way to intellectual property, taxes, accounting, business structure, all of those kind of hard skills you need as a business person, as an artist. So right now, it's been 8 years and counting that Melissa is a full-time artist. This is how she makes all of her money. And one of the most interesting things about her is that she says that right now as an artist, she's making more money than when she had what she called a regular job, which is something you don't hear from a lot of artists. This isn't our primary goal as an organization, but it's something that you often hear isn't possible, and I think that if you put your mind to it and really develop those skills, that you can make it the primary thing that you do, and I think Melissa's a really great success story in that case. So I want to walk you through some more examples here, or more specifics here of the types of things that we offer. Again, refer to the handout that you have and to our website to get more detailed information about these offerings, but I want to walk you through a couple of important things on here. First of all, you see that we have a huge array of topics that we cover in our programming, everything from grant writing to resumes to all the things we talked about that Melissa was able to learn from our programs. And then you'll see a varying level of commitment, so from 1 hour all the way to 50. So, I mean, you need to think about at what point, at this place in your career, what are the things that you need and what kind of commitment can you make, and depending on kind of which stage you are in your career. Another thing I'd like to note here is that our topic-based workshops and our I Am an Artist workshop are oftentimes traveling or they're online, so they're accessible to everyone in the entire state. And then finally, here are the residency in Fort Townsend. It's a 1-week-long residency, and the reason we've designed it this way is so that you can come from anywhere in the state and all stay in the same place for an entire week, so that it's accessible, again, to everyone across the entire state. Okay. So now we've talked about all the different ways that you can develop your career, apply for grants. Let's say you've learned some new things and now you're ready to apply them, but you need to find new opportunities for yourself. So I want to point out a couple of really great resources we have on our website. I can't overemphasize this point that we have tons and tons of resources on our website, but I just want to point you to a couple of the most popular ones. And then once you start digging around in there, you can find a lot of other ways that you can engage. How many of you recognize this part of our website? Everyone, okay. How many of you have applied to an opportunity that you found on our website? Some of you, okay. Erin, would you like to share? Do you remember what the opportunity was? What was the outcome?
Well, I applied to, I don't know how many things, opportunities, say I've gotten, a couple of exhibits through the website. I got one really fantastic teaching/exhibit gig. Yeah, and actually I use it as like a connect to my friends things. If I see something that, isn't appropriate for me, I email it to somebody else, and I know people who have gotten opportunities from things that email.
I love that the generous artist. This is a great way to look at things too. If you see something that doesn't apply to you, maybe it applies to one of your friends who's an artist. That's a great practice. It always comes back to you too. So take that tip for your art career. Does either of you want to share an opportunity you applied to? I think no. Nothing juicy.
I've applied to so many. I mean, when I was doing just art as my career, this was on my sort of every 2 weeks schedule things to do. Just look and pull them out and apply.
Oh yeah.
For me, this was a great resource to post job opportunities for my organization
Yeah.
and get some really great candidates.
So you'll see here, it's kind of hard to read in this room, but it's just kind of post an opportunity. So if you have an opportunity that, let's say you're organizing a reading in your house and you'd like to have other writers be part of that reading, you can post the opportunity yourself, or any type of opportunity that you might have, you can also post. I just want to walk you through a couple, for those of you who aren't familiar with the website, a couple of things here. You can sort by category. So you see we have 140 opportunities, which is a lot. They're probably not all going to apply to you specifically, so you can sort by what you're looking for. So let's say you're only looking for funding, grants, then you could click on that button. And let's say you are a dancer, and you click on this button and you get only those opportunities. So it really saves you a lot of time. We get hundreds of emails every week with opportunities, and we have this amazing team of interns who are sitting in this room right now who go through all of those, and they can tell you if you ask them that it is a ton of work. But the whole reason we do that is to save you all of that time and effort, so that you can quickly click on those boxes and you don't have to cull through all of those emails on listservs, because we do that for you. So really, this is an incredible resource for you, and it's free for everyone to use. This is a little hidden gem of the Artist Trust website. This is our resources page. So one thing about Artist Trust is we love to support artists who are very resilient and are able to help themselves. So this is a way that we like to do that. This is a list of a whole bunch of different topics and categories of things that artists need. We can't fill all of the needs of artists, although sometimes it seems like it. But what we do is we have this kind of referral system where we can help you find the organizations and companies that can help you. So as an example, let's say you're having a performance in an empty warehouse in Soto, and you need to get event liability insurance for that. Where would you go to get that insurance? Does anyone know? No one knows. What a surprise. That's not a surprise, actually. It's very common. So what you would do is you click on number 12 here that says property, liability, and special event insurance, and then you'll be taken to a whole page that lists a whole bunch of different companies that might help you with that. Also, when you click on those different tabs, they'll come up with articles that can help you understand those topics a little bit more. A couple things to be aware: we are not affiliated with these organizations. We don't endorse them. We're simply a referral service. If you want to find out more, you contact them directly. But this can be a really great way to get a lot of your questions answered and find out the connections to things that maybe we don't specifically offer those resources, but we want to help you find them. Okay? Is there anyone in the room who has happened to use this resources page to find an answer to their question, or to find another company that they needed help with?
I think actually that's how I found the Artist Trust, is that I was looking for information on writing artist statements, and I think I Googled, do I need a business license as an artist, and somehow got to Artist Trust.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, Erin said she Googled, do I need a business license as an artist, and it took her here, which we do have a nice little article about business licenses as artists, which again, these are the types of questions that can be very confusing as an artist, and we want to help you figure out those answers. So that's a great example of the type of thing that we would be able to offer on this part of our website. Okay. So after talking about the great benefits of the internet, I want to bring it back down to real people. So the internet can really do a lot for connecting people, and as a statewide organization, we have to rely on the internet a lot to connect people. But ultimately, as an artist, one of the most powerful things that you can do is to connect with others face to face. So we do this in a variety of different ways at Artist Trust. In fact, we do this in so many different ways that I can't go into all of the ways right now, but I want to just give you a sense of some of the things that we do to connect artists with each other. Some of the events that we have are, like the one you see pictured here. This is an Artist Up event. This is a partnership with the Seattle Office of Arts and Culture and For Culture, and it's an event that brought together different cultural communities to help them increase applications to our granting process. So we offer programs like that. We also have Artist Happy Hours, which is exactly what it sounds like. And we have things like our volunteer opportunities. So everyone likes to connect with people in different ways. So for me personally, I don't love huge mingly events, but for me a volunteer opportunity is a really great way to network because I get to work collaboratively with somebody else towards a common goal. And I find that's a much more enriching and interesting way to meet with people. So we have many different ways that you can connect with other people just depending on the type of person that you are. So just a quick, I'd love to hear from you. What are the ways that you feel most comfortable getting to know other people or doing other types of networking activities? Okay, who loves a party? Okay, we got a few people. Who loves a more kind of quiet, subdued event? A couple people. What else? What am I missing here? Who loves to just get work done with others? Okay, a couple of you. What else? Well, anyhow,
Sorry.
Artist Trust offers a nice variety of different ways that we can help you connect with each other because ultimately networking is really one of the most valuable things you can do to advance your career. So I want to talk a minute about membership, but first, how many of you are currently Artist Trust members? Let's say currently or have in the past been an Artist Trust member, because I know sometimes you forget how your membership lapsed or not. Okay, great, so most of you. I'm just curious, so why did you decide to become an Artist Trust member?
This was this gem that I didn't know about before until a friend who knew more about it told me about it, and that it was Lisa.
Yeah, so Lisa, it sounds like she loves the organization, is very passionate about it, and wants to feel like she's pitching in. Is that fair to say?
Exactly.
Yeah. How about the rest of you? What were your motivations for becoming Artist Trust members?
To get a little more connected to the arts community.
Yeah, to feel more connected. It's great. What else?
I was very similar to that, where I just wanted to pay it forward. And understanding the mission that the monies go directly to artists.
Ray, you're
Which is good.
an artist, you want to support that. You're a very altruistic group here. That's a really great way to support Artist Trust. There also are a few little perks that we give you back. There is huge discounts on our workshops. This is a really big reason that people will take it, is to get these really deep discounts. And then also we have a quarterly Remembers e-newsletter. So this is a really great time for you to post events you might have coming up if you have a performance or a reading or a show. And then you can see what other members are doing around the state too, and there's some great tips and articles in there as well. So that's a really great perk. In addition, there are some discounts at local businesses, but I think ultimately a lot of people like to support Artist Trust for that's the same reason that you all said, just for the like warm and fuzzy feeling that you get from writing that $45 check. So those are really, all of those are really great reasons to become Artist Trust members. So I want to take a minute to talk to you a little bit about us. There's this adorable picture of a few of our staff members who you might recognize in the room here. I just want to give you a few pieces of background information because a lot of people are very curious about how such an amazing organization could exist. So we were founded in 1986, which means we have a very big anniversary coming up next year, big 3-0. And it's an organization that was very special because it was founded by artists and for artists, which is very unique. And again, I've said this many times, but I can't say it enough. We're for the entire state of Washington and for all different disciplines. Again, I keep saying that because I think a lot of times people forget those little details, but it's actually really crucial and a very important part of our culture and our mission as an organization. And then to date, we've funded over 10 million, or invested nearly over $10 million in direct grants to artists and career training. So that's just think think about how much money that is directly to artists, which is, I think, because there's going to be such a rich cultural community in the state of Washington. So along the same lines here, another interesting piece of information about Artist Trust is our funding. This is a statistic that surprises a lot of people here. This 68% of funding going to is coming from individual donations. What I like about this fact is what it says about you, the artists. To me, what this says is that there are a lot of people in the state of Washington who want to give money to an organization because we support artists. So this is a real vote of confidence for you as artists, because what people want is more artists like you doing what you do. So I think you should walk away feeling like this is an amazing thing, that it's not a bunch of corporations or foundations giving us money. It really is individuals out there who say, you know what, we really want to support artists. And then of course we do get quite a bit of our money also from foundations and corporations, but really I want you to take home this idea that there are people around you who love the arts, that specifically love the artists, which is what we're about as an organization. After today, I want to make sure you figure out how to stay in touch with us so we don't lose contact after our time here together. So there's a couple of different ways you can do that depending on your own personal preferences and style. So first I want to direct you to, this is the home page of our website. Up here, it's hard to read, so I'm going to tell you it says newsletter. So if you'd like a bi-weekly newsletter, it's called Resource. You click on that button and it will come into your inbox. And it's going to have the latest deadlines for grants. It's going to have announcements from artists around the state. It's going to have opportunities, lots of great gems in there. So that's a good way if you prefer getting news through email. How many of you like social media? And that's how you want to know what's happening, the newest stuff. A couple of you, half of you, about a half hands going up in the room. There's a confident full hand from Devin. So right here, this is where you can find our social media links. And then up here we have submit a listing. So this is what, like Betway was mentioning about posting an opportunity. Also, if you have an event, so you have an art opening coming up, you have a performance, you can click here to submit a listing, and it will appear on our events page, but also down here in our sidebar of our homepage as well. So that's something that you should keep in mind if you're interested in hosting events with us. So before we bring it full circle back to you, the artists, I'd like to just take a moment and see if you have any specific questions about this presentation or about Artist Trust that I haven't already answered for you.
Does the money for fellowships or grants have to be spent a specific way, or is it all open-ended?
That's a good question. So she said, does the money for grants or fellowships need to be spent a specific way, or is it open-ended?
Yeah.
Maybe could you elaborate a little bit on that?
I guess, for example, if you received a grant and you had written a proposal that, you know, you were going to use that money for your space, and they changed that space anymore, could it be applied towards something else? I guess, are the funds, when you receive them, are they sort of designated for specifically what you were to spend them on, or do you have to in your application include that?
So that's a really good question, and that actually does vary a little bit by the grant you're applying to. So again, I'm not the expert on all things grants, so I would recommend that you read the guidelines very closely for whichever grant you're applying for. But more generally, most of our grants are unrestricted, so our fellowship is unrestricted. You're not saying what you're using it for. But the Grants for Artists project is a very specifically project-based, so you have specific things you say you're going to use it for. However, as everyone in this room knows, being an artist is kind of messy. So you might start out trying to do one thing, and then by the time you're done, you're doing something else. And we, as an organization, understand that. But if you said you were going to, let's say, spend your money on, buying new studio supplies, and you decided to take a vacation to the Bahamas instead, that's like too much of a deviation, right? So does that answer your question a little bit more? But again, I do recommend you look at all the guidelines very closely and call the Artist Trust Grants team and ask them those if you have very specific questions, because sometimes there are some gray areas in that regard. It's a great question, Natalie. Thank you. Does anyone else have questions about Artist Trust or anything we talked about today?
Curiosity related to the grants and reporting on them, given that this is the arts-focused organization, how strenuous is reporting? Once a grant has been awarded?
So just To make sure I understand your question, you're asking what's the reporting process after you receive the grant? So you get a check and then how often do we check in and what does that look like? Is that your question? Yeah, so right now we actually don't have a very specific check-in process other than saying, let us know what you did, but we don't go back and actually refer back to your application to verify that you did exactly what you said that you did. We really do trust that you as artists are going to use that money wisely to go make art. So we put a lot of faith in you as the artist. Well, those are all really great questions. I encourage you, if you have more that come up, to ask me afterwards, or of course refer to the Artist Trust website or call Artist Trust staff if you have additional questions as well. They're all always welcoming those phone calls. So let's bring it back to you. We just spent a few minutes talking about the different types of things that Artist Trust offers, and I want to know, what are the next steps you're going to take towards getting to those goals that you thought about or stated at the very beginning? What are one or two things that you might do? And how can Artist Trust support you in that process? Take a minute to just think about that. Like something that you just learned about that you think, oh, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will, for the first time, apply for a grant. Or maybe I will sign up for that workshop so that I can take that next step. Maybe I will apply for one of those opportunities on that part of their website. So just take a minute to think about that. Who'd like to share what is something they might do next?
I actually just realized I've never submitted anything to the opportunities page, so I'm glad you brought that up. That's helpful to go into that.
It's great. So Erin's going to submit something to our opportunities page to help connect with the community in Washington. It's great. Who else?
Research that first tier professional development seminar on business.
Yeah, so Doug here might apply or look into all of our workshops and see which one is the right fit for him. It's great. Yeah.
We're definitely going to research the professional development resources and articles.
That's great. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there that's, like I said, hidden gem of Artist Trust. Well, I encourage you to continue thinking about all these things that you might do after hearing about these, to actually take concrete steps towards meeting your goals as an artist. Being an artist sometimes can be very lonely, and oftentimes you don't have accountability towards anyone else, so you forget to actually take those steps. But I really encourage you to take some of the things you learned today and actually move forward with those, and then figure out how Artist Trust fits into that picture for you. How can we help you get there? So I want to take a moment to thank a few people. First of all, obviously we could not exist without all of the individuals and foundations and corporations who fund us. So we want to thank a lot of these organizations here. Also, I'd like to thank 12th Avenue Arts for hosting us in this beautiful space that has air conditioning and is very roomy, so we can spread out. So they donated the space to us today, and it's very comfortable and lovely. And then mostly I want to thank all of you artists for being here today. I'm an artist myself, and I know that time is something you often don't have a lot of. So the fact that you are willing to donate or to spend 30 minutes of your time listening to me talk is really a huge gift. So thank you so much for being here today. And I'd like to end with turning it back to giving you a little work now. As you all knew when you signed up, we have a 30 minutes of networking that you're going to be doing. So just a quick show of hands, how many of you like networking and like talking to people, meeting new people?
I'm getting there.
Wow, a lot of you. How many of you are like, not my favorite thing, I'd rather be home watching TV, reading a book, petting my cat? How many of that? I mean, is that? Okay. So it's a mix for people, right? Oftentimes artists, there are many artists who are kind of lone wolves because many disciplines you have to spend many hours alone if you're writing or if you're a visual artist. Some disciplines are more collaborative than others. So those of you who love interacting with others, please make everyone in the room feel very welcome. Those of you who don't like this, I'm going to ask you to stretch yourselves a little bit and to really embrace the fact that networking is one of the best things you can do for your career. It really is, if you have very little time, one of the best things you can do to invest. So we're going to help you along with this process by giving you this prompt. What are you currently working on? So I want you to think about, what are you doing right now as an artist that you are most excited about? What is that thing that gets you up in the morning? What is the thing you can't wait to do, can't wait to talk about? And that's the thing I want you to spend a few minutes talking to somebody new about. Share those exciting ideas with them. And again, thank you all for coming. Now, go get networking.